the thinking is there's silence in the boardroom, so we'll make it, there'll be silence in the stands. For me, protests will always divide opinion amongst fans. There's 60,000 fans at Celtic Park every week, and these silent protests, I can guarantee, will not be universally accepted. Not everybody will be on board with it. There might be anger towards the board, but there comes a point where you have to consider if it's starting to affect the team. Now, 12 minutes isn't a long time. There was a 12-minute Rugby Park protest where, I don't know, maybe 3,000 fans waited in the concourse before emerging into the stands in the 12th minute. Then at the weekend there was a 12-minute silent protest against Hibs. And yeah, it was a very eerie atmosphere.
Did you think it affected the performance levels, right?
This is the issue. This is the major issue. With silent protest, I do think it does risk impacting the team. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I think if you listen to Brendan Rodgers after both the Kilmarnock game and the Hibs game, even he admitted, it was a strange feeling. I think Luke McCowan in his interview after the Hibs game as well said that he could even, it was unusual experience for him because he could actually hear what his teammates were saying at the other end of the field. So it has been the players are noticing it. And I think Brendan Rodgers said as soon as the fans did eventually burst into life on the 12th minute, then the team got a lift from that. So against Braga on Thursday, it's going to be 29 minutes. That's more than double the time. So how that, I just don't understand. For me, I don't necessarily agree with silent protests as the way to go forward with it, because, as I say, I do think it does risk impacting the team, especially in such a huge European occasion. Against Braga in the Europa League, Celtic will have real intentions of going deep in this competition, and by staying silent for the majority of 30 minutes, best part of 30 minutes, it's not going to do the team any favours. And the reality is, without the Green Brigade in the corner and the boys Celtic on the opposite side, Celtic Park's like a morgue at times. There's no other kind of singing sections. So even if some punters don't necessarily agree with it, I can't imagine there'll be much atmosphere regardless.
Davey in the comments, and if you're watching, you want to let us know your opinion, please get involved. Davey says, I thought we played the best game of the season so far without scoring. I think he means against Hibs at the weekend. There will be no silence from me, and my grandson is looking forward to his first match in the Europa League. And Marzuno says, I wish my kids would do a silent protest. We talk about the Europa League, you mentioned it there, Ryan. Obviously, Europa League was seen as one area that the Celtic fans might boycott. I mean, a 6:15 kickoff against Braga on Thursday. I have no idea. What the crowd is going to be.
That's going to be the problem, isn't it? 29 minutes to silent protest last. How's anybody going to tell?
I know, that's a good point.
The Rangers had a similar problem last week. They can't give tickets away for this game. I think there's available tickets in every section of the ground apart from what they call the North Curve, isn't that right?
Yeah.
So I find it interesting, Ryan, and I'm interested to know your perspective on it. Obviously, you're saying that you don't necessarily agree with it. I've noticed that some fans groups have been saying, well, media would say that the media are on message because the board want this message out. That the media are being used to put the board's message forward. I mean, it's nonsense. I can say that categorically. But I am interested to know from the perspective of performance level, is this going to impact on? Did it impact at the weekend? Because I'm seeing conflicting versions of that. I'm seeing some people say, as we said there, one of the comments was that Celtic actually one of their better performances this season, just struggled to put the ball in the net. That's got nothing to do with volume coming from the stands. But I just think it all feeds into a pretty bleak narrative. And I guess the fans' argument will be in that, Ryan, well, yeah, that's what we want it to be, because we need the board to take action and we need them to listen to us, even if we're being silent. The fans are clearly committed to this course of action.
Yeah, I mean, the 12-minute protest at Rugby Park was picked up by Sky cameras, and it was discussed in the days leading and the days afterwards. So the Celtic Fans Collective, that is what they're wanting from this. They're wanting headlines. They're wanting this to headlines to be made until eventually the board do break their silence and respond to that open letter that was sent. which will be 29 minutes, hence the fact it's 29 days, hence the fact it's a 29-minute silent protest in Braga, against Braga. So that'll be 29 days on Thursday since they've sent that open letter, and it's not really been addressed. Of course, there has been that car crash of a statement, plus obviously there was the annual report where Michael Nicholson particularly took accountability for the transfer market failings, and obviously failing to qualify for the Champions League. So there was some accountability taken from the boardroom. However, it wasn't a direct address or a direct response to, I think there was a 7-point letter that was sent on behalf of multiple fan groups, which obviously involves thousands of fans as well. So I think, to be honest, I don't think this one's going to go away. I think it's a result of repeated kind of failings in the Champions League and the transfer market. Celtic fans have been in this movie before. They're clearly annoyed and angry at missing out on the Champions League group stages, a competition they've been gifted over the last 3 years. As a result, we've been crowned champions, and obviously likes of Rangers boosting the coefficient as well. So they've had an open goal at this Champions League for 3 years, and the one time obviously a qualifier emerges, then fans were celebrating when Kyrie Amati was drawn out the hat. You'd think it was a cert that Celtic would go through, but they were ill prepared again in the transfer market, and it's the 5th time in a row that Celtic have failed to qualify via the Champions League qualifiers. And I think now it's obviously fans have had enough, and they're wanting change, they're wanting better communication, and they're wanting a bit of transparency. And I think as well, actions speak louder than words, and that's something I do agree with. I think the board do have to come out, they do have to improve their communication with supporters. Brendan Rodgers has even acknowledged that as well, Keith. He acknowledged that at his press conference on Friday, and I think he acknowledged it before as well, that is something that Celtic have to improve upon. So yeah, I think, to be honest, Dermot Desmond, he was at the Ryder Cup at the weekend, wasn't he? So I don't really think it would be on him too much. It's more Michael Nicholson and the other directors, and obviously Peter Lowell, who'll be in the stands at Celtic Park every week, that will be in for an uncomfortable afternoon. But yeah, in terms of the wider picture, I don't see this going away anytime soon.
But Ryan, here's the thing with Michael Nicholson, right? I don't know how long he's been in there now as chief executive. He's been on a silent protest all this time. Let me tell you something. If the Celtic fans think they've got problems trying to get communication from Michael Nicholson, they should try sitting on this side of the fence. It's impossible. I mean, the guy has been an empty vessel. I'm sure that he does, he knows what he's doing. He's a smart, intelligent man, but he is not a communicator. He has got no wish for a profile. He doesn't want to step forward, and he's been the invisible chief exec in his entire time there. And I think that is part of the problem, and particularly just purely from a PR perspective, which is obviously, our side of the game. During that kind of abomination of a transfer window there,